You read the title. Let's get into it. Strange things happen once you start getting money. And what I mean by you start getting money is you have like a significant income jump. You go from being broke to having some money, or you go from a certain income level and you jump a lot to a higher income level. The reason I'm making this video is because if you watch my channel, you listen to my videos, I want you earning money. My highest value is business, and I teach people online business, selling, education, products, information, coaching, combined with the laws that govern the universe. So you leverage the laws that govern the universe within your business to earn money online. So I want you getting money. Someone like me who did have plenty significant income jumps over the last couple of years. I went from being very broke, sleeping on a basement floor, drinking all the time, being sick mentally and physically, I would say, to having significant income jump, becoming a top 1% earner, making my first $1 million, helping other people make millions of dollars. Some strange things happened in that process. So this video is kind of to prepare you for getting rich, or to prepare you for having an income jump. The first thing for me, and the most significant thing, is that the things you think are money problems are not actually money problems. So when I was younger, I used to save my money. I had a Buzz Lightyear piggy bank. It was blue, I remember. And I get birthday money, Christmas money, little money here and there from family. And I would put it in the Buzz Lightyear piggy bank. One day, I see my piggy bank. It was empty. Wasn't a lot of money. It was maybe $70. Maybe 80. But my piggy bank was empty. And I'm like, what's going on? I asked my mom. I said, Mom, do you know what happened to my money? She said, yeah, I had to spend it to buy groceries. And I was upset. I may have been maybe 7 or 8 years old, maybe younger. I said, oh, you took my money. You're not supposed to take my money. Why'd you do that? Who cares about the groceries? Blah, 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 blah. And doing that, being upset at my mother, made my mother cry. And in that moment, that created a charge in my mind, an emotional charge in my mind. One, I felt guilty that I made my mother cry, because what son wants to do that? And two, it made me feel like we don't have enough money. Like we're not going to survive. My mom's struggling for money all the time. Like we don't have enough food to eat. She had to take money from her son to go buy groceries. Saying she would give it back to me. I don't think she ever gave it back to me. Not that I care though. So this underlying angst of not having enough and kind of living in survival and living in a state of, we don't know if we're going to have the lights shut off or have bills paid or still live in a house. That underlying angst followed me even when I got significant amounts of money. When I started consistently making good money, which put me into the top 1% of my country, I still had this underlying anxiety of, I'm going to lose it all. I'm not going to survive. We're not going to have enough. We're not going to be able to pay bills. It's just, I'm going to lose it all. That's because that underlying angst that I thought money was going to solve was not a money problem. It was a mental problem. It was an emotional problem. It was a problem caused by that charge I had way back when my mom took the money out of my piggy bank to buy us groceries because she didn't have enough. So if you don't deal with the emotional charges you have in your past and learn how to cancel those things out and see the benefits of those situations, the benefit of my mother taking that piggy bank from that money from me was that it made me more entrepreneurial. It made me a little more risky in terms of getting money. It made me secure the bag because I didn't want to be poor. I also wanted to help my mother. I didn't want my mother to have to be in a situation where she couldn't buy groceries or whatever else. So there's benefit to that. I became an entrepreneur. So that's part of how you can start canceling out these emotional charges, because money doesn't solve that. Money doesn't solve that underlying emotional angst of survival. Even when you get money, it's still going to be there, like it was for me. And I found that to be very strange, because I thought money would solve that problem and I would be secure. I didn't feel secure. And I still have it now from time to time, because as you develop in life and reach different rhythms of life and different frequencies of life, there's other challenges and emotional charges to overcome. So sometimes I still run into it. But for the most part, I think I've handled a lot of that. Second strange thing that starts happening when you start getting money is you pay luxury tax. This actually happened before I personally started getting some money. So my best friend, who was my first business partner, he was a guy, when I met him, up. He had paper. He had money. He was doing his thing. I met him in a jerk chicken spot at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was coming from a show, music performance that I had done that nobody was there for me. There's like 5 people who maybe paid attention to me, and then they were there for somebody else and made all the noise for him. And I just felt like shit, because I was like, yo, I put my heart and soul into performing here and no one gives a shit. But it is what it is. So I go to this jerk chicken spot at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's called Raps in Toronto. Best jerk chicken spot. But you got to go in the nighttime, because the nighttime has the chef, and you got to go at the nighttime in the summer, because the dude from Jamaica comes up in the summertime and he's the guy. But anyways, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm buying some jerk chicken. I see this dude walk in, dripped out, Rick Owens shoes, Chanel accessories, fit from Paris, basically. I'm like, who the hell are you? What do you do? He's like, I'm in the creative directing. I work with artists, stuff like that. I'm like, yo, you just look cool, and I know I need to do something with you. Right? We need to link up on some creative work. So we exchanged numbers, and over years, dude became my best friend. But here was the problem. He already had all the trappings of what people in the music industry wanted. The expensive car, the hot girlfriend, the jewelry, the designer clothes. He already had all of it. So when we would roll up to places where we might need a connection with somebody, or somebody to plug us with something, or to swing an opportunity our way, they wouldn't present us with the opportunity, because we seemed like we already had money. We seemed like we already had the stuff that they wanted, that all the other rappers wanted, and all the other managers and everybody else wanted. So it's like, why should we help you? Instead, we'll charge you. So we would run into like video director dudes who might charge somebody else $500 and charge us $2,000 because we look like money. So you pay luxury tax if you're running around looking like money. Even crazier if you're talking about having money. You might pay luxury tax, because people are people, guys. People are people. People might know you make $2 million a year. Their service would normally be $2,000. They're going to charge you $20 because they know you have it like that. So just prepare yourself for that. If you're going to be exuberant and showcase your wealth, showcase your money. This is why a lot of rich people, they're low key. You would never know. One of the first rich people I met, I would consider him rich. He was a multimillionaire. You would never know. He drove like a entry level Lexus or something. Like you wouldn't know he was up like that because he didn't want to get luxury taxed. Basically, on the luxury tax front, you can be rich. Just don't make being rich your thing. Like there's some people, the only interesting thing about them is money. That's really whack. Like if you don't have anything else interesting about you besides the fact that you have money, it's not a good time because that's how people just extract things from you and use you, and you're not equipped for different elements of life. I've run into a lot of people like this. Like they have money, they're terrible with women, they have no fashion, they have no aura, they have no swag. Their health is terrible. Their spouses are terrible people. Like they just have all of the rest of their life mashed up, but they were good at making money, and money's their thing. Oh, you have to respect me because I have money. Don't make that your thing, okay? Next, I would say when you start getting money, you realize the petty foolishness that's happened in your life over not having money, over being broke in my case. So I used to work as a sound engineer at various studios in the city. And what I used to do, when I think about it now, it's a little cheeky, but I would like record an artist. I had my own recording setup at home, but I wouldn't record artists at home. I don't want them to know where I live. There were some shady people I worked with. I don't want to know where I live. Hell no. So I would record them at another studio. And then when it came to mixing the record, they could either choose to mix it in studio and pay the studio's rate and pay my rate, or they could just pay my rate and I would do it at home. Now, of course, the studios want to incentivize them to stay and do their work at the studio so they can get the money. But me, if I felt like if the client didn't have it like that, I would say, well, I can just mix it at home and you can just pay my rate. Which one particular studio looked at as like I'm undercutting them, which I fully understand. I fully get that. Dude who ran that studio was like, we always have to get our piece. So there's one client I had where I decided, okay, I'm going to mix her stuff at home. And the guy who ran the studio she was recording at found out about it. He was very upset about it. So he was like, yo, we need our piece. I think I charged her like $300. He's like, yo, you should have charged her $500. We need $200. And this guy he's a street dude. Like he was on road like that. He's cool. I'm cool with him now because I realized this was a very petty situation. But he's like, yo, we need our $200. I was like, what the hell? And we got in this big argument, this big spat of pride and problems and money and stupidness. And I didn't talk to him for maybe 2 years. This was somebody I talked to regularly. Like we had some very deep conversations, you know. We got in a little stupid fight over $200, essentially. And once I started getting money, once I had my first $100,000 year, I actually ended up bumping into him, going to dinner at a restaurant in the city. I ended up bumping into him. And it was all love. He was like, yo, man, how come you ain't come by the studio, man? It's nothing, bro. Like, just come chat, you know? So I went to the studio the next week and spoke with him. And I was like, yo, man, you see what we were fighting about? It was so stupid. I was just broke, bro. I was just broke. I just didn't have no money. For me to part with $200 to give the studio their fee and for everybody to be happy, it was a lot for me. I didn't have it, you know? And he understood that. When you don't have money, you do strange things sometimes. And sometimes when you have money, you do stranger things, right? But that was more survival mode programming. Like, yo, I don't have it. I know you feel undercut, but I don't have it. And then I was like, yo, we tarnished a relationship over $200. It's total nonsense. So when I got money, it made me realize how petty and survival mode driven that situation was. It gave me new perspective. And what he told me, because this is a guy who was a successful business guy. He had many successful businesses, actually. He was like, yo, sometimes you just have to hit certain realms to get certain information. is how he said it. I remember exactly how he said it. Certain information. And I knew exactly what he meant. $100,000 a year makes you privy to a certain level of life. $1 million a year will make you privy to certain levels of life. I just didn't know any better. So you realize things when you get money. And ultimately, the strangest thing that happens, let me make sure I got time. Oh yeah, we got time. The strangest thing I've felt that happened, and they say this all the time, money just amplifies who you are. And everyone thinks they're a great person. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, when I get money, I'm just going to be a great person. I'm going to do everything right. I'm just going to be so awesome. When I started getting money, it did amplify who I was. And who I was somebody who was still in survival mode, still anxious about a bunch of shit, still thinking like, I was never a penny pincher, but thinking that like, yo, I can't spend. Even though I did spend a whole bunch of money to try and fill a void of showing off onto people. I was broke for so long and wanted to prove myself to people for so long that I just spent so much money going on trips and buying custom suits and doing $10,000 dinners and crap, trying to flex. No one cares, huh? No one cares. That's another big realization. You go and you flex and you do your thing, no one cares. They want to see themselves doing it. And it's a level of like vicarious living. And if they don't care about you, the only reason they want to talk to you is to figure out how to have what you have. They don't care that you have it. They want it. But yeah, it amplifies who you already are. And if you don't have enough self-awareness to detect that before it goes too far, money will ruin your life. Not having money can ruin your life. Having a whole bunch of money can ruin your life. So you got to become more self-aware. You have to become more measured in mind. You have to learn how to manage the money you receive. Even when you're receiving little amounts of money, you got to manage it well, because when you manage what you have, you get more to manage. So those are the strange things that happened when I started getting money. And now you can be prepared so they don't happen to you. And that's that for today. Well, for tonight, even though you're probably seeing this in the daytime. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.